Ministry doesn't always look like a pastorate, a pulpit, or a hut in a third world country translating the Bible while teaching and giving first aid to tribal folks. It is often in the random chance encounter or in the everyday relationships with both friends and strangers. Not long ago, I spent time compiling an autobiography. I'm not sure if it will ever be published. But as I have been going through recording the events of my life, one of the things which has been reinforced to me is that even as I chased after and pursued professional ministry as a pastor or missionary, I was already doing the work of a pastor and missionary. It wasn't in any way most pastors, denominations, or churches would recognize. It was in seemingly chance meetings with seemingly random people who were in need of a pastor, a guide, a priest, or a counselor right in that moment, and who would not have otherwise gone to a professional minister. It was in the meeting with a young man in tears in Lewiston, Idaho, whom I literally ran into, coming out of a church, and who was desperately lost, trying to find his way back. It was in a fellow classmate in Bible school, who had just been told he was being expelled and was in tears. It was in a young couple who had come to be married as Christians, but whom no one had thought to offer baptism. It was in a man I'd never met from Brazil contacting me because he'd read one of my fan fiction novels and was asking for guidance. It was in a hotel worker who, upon seeing the clerics I was wearing, asked me privately if I would hear his confession, when I had only driven up to the hotel to see a friend visiting California. It was in a former drug addict atheist dying of AIDS who just wanted to talk. It was in a woman lying in a hospital bed who'd been a Christian all of her life, and once again, no one had thought to offer baptism to her. Or it was in a drug addict in the hospital for burns who'd only turned to drugs after her infant daughter died, and her family and church told her she needed to be joyful and didn't allow her to mourn or even question God openly in her pain. My ministry has been dozens of people over the decades, whom I might have only met once, but the Lord acted and spoke to them through me right at the moment when and where it was needed, wherever I happened to be attending to some other business usually. All I had to do was just be there, be willing, and let the Lord do the rest through me. My ministry has just been making myself available wherever I am and whatever I'm doing to whomever needs Jesus Christ through me in that moment. I have been doing individual personal ministry just being there and being who I was. Sure, I have done church services, preached, performed baptisms. I've written books, a blog. Now I'm doing YouTube sermons. But as I look at my life, my real ministry career has always been these one-on-one encounters, where Jesus Christ has come through loud and clear to the person whom I've just met, and most of the time never met again. I can't help but think this is more the kind of thing that Jesus was talking about when he said, "Going into all the world, disciple the nations." Ministry, discipling, evangelism, and pastoring aren't just recognized jobs like a paid pastor at a church or an overseas missionary on support. Making disciples and just channeling Jesus Christ isn't just for when you're on the clock in an employment setting, and it doesn't always end up in starting a Bible study that becomes a nonprofit religious organization that meets at 9 a.m. on Sundays. It's in every moment, in every random encounter, and meeting with someone you may or may not know. It's making sure that you are submitted to and cooperating with the Spirit of Christ, so that the person they see and talk to is Jesus Christ through you. And he is the one whom they encounter, hear, and by whom their paths and lives may be changed. It's in letting go of the rules, the religious laws and regulations, the proper procedures, and just letting him love and care for that person through you, no matter who they are or what the circumstance. Baptizing when many churches would refuse or require classes. Giving the Eucharist to someone not even Catholic. Withholding judgment from someone whom most would condemn. Just making time for someone in pain, in tears, and in need. This has been my career in ministry more often than not. Most of the time without pay, without recognition, without respect from peers. Penniless, sometimes homeless, sometimes going without enough food. Tolerating verbal and emotional abuse and not responding in kind. Being told I wasn't a Christian or not Christian enough. Accused of being in a cult, trying to start a cult, and of preaching heresy when I preached Jesus Christ. Being suspended from official service as a minister. But in all of these things, frequently being sent to those places where other pastors just didn't go. Talking to people that would never feel like they could talk to a real pastor. Chasing something that I didn't know I already had and was already doing. God didn't just give me the ministry He knew I could handle. He trusted me with something He knew others couldn't and wouldn't even try. I can only hope I've kept that trust as well as I could. When I was actually employed in a pastoral role at St. Jude Thaddeus in Huntington Beach, I received $50 when I performed the service. This was whether it was a Sunday service, a baptism, or a wedding. There were times I took the initiative and performed the sacrament of baptism without any compensation because the person was ready in that moment and there was no reason to wait. For a short time, I would work a few hours a day in the church office as a receptionist during the week as well, making $8 an hour. Let me be clear, I ministered whether I was paid or not, because that was my calling. I was compelled to do it by the Spirit, as I still am. When I went out to Tennessee to act as a co-pastor at All Saints Old Catholic Church in Clarksville, I received no salary at all, and we had to go on food stamps and Medicaid. During the week, I took a job as a substitute teacher for Houston County. I was making $60 a day. And it was not always 5 days a week. In fact, most of the time it was 2 or 3 days a week. Later, I worked for a while as a direct care worker for criminal and troubled boys until the flooding hit in 2010. That was that 1,000-year storm that wiped out a third of Clarksville at the time. This was in addition to performing Sunday services at All Saints, as well as driving the hour into Clarksville to minister to a parishioner when asked. After I left my formal ministry positions, to which I never returned, I continued writing and teaching on my blog. I started this in 2008, and I never stopped. I have to this day never received a penny from doing it, yet I continued to do it. I wrote my first book and then continued to write. Yes, I was hoping they would do a little better in terms of sales, but that never stopped me from doing it and continuing to do it. Later, at the suggestion and recommendation of a friend from church, I took a position as a volunteer chaplain at UCI Medical Center in Orange, California, making rounds once a week on Sundays after church. Again, volunteer. I did not need to do this. I was not enrolled in a seminary at the time. I did not need to complete the hours for a chaplaincy that I did. I did it because that was what the Spirit was compelling me to do. It was an outlet for ministry, and I did that for about a year. Now I'm making YouTube videos of the teaching and rambles I've written for the last 17 years. No one is paying me to do this. Have I sought paid pastoral positions? Yes, of course I have. The thing of it is, not too many churches are interested in having a pastor with my background. Either my education is wrong, my experience is wrong, my theology is wrong, I was raised in the wrong state. You'd be surprised how many churches do not want a pastor from California. Or they didn't think I could do it because of my autism spectrum disorder or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Have I stopped attempting to minister because I'm not paid for it? No. Have I stopped taking time for those who need to talk, those who need to confess, those who need to experience Jesus Christ through me because I received no compensation for it? No, absolutely not. Nor will I. Would I want to have received an income from ministering? It would have made things a lot easier for my family over the years. We wouldn't have had to move around so much. We wouldn't have been in the impoverished situations where we were in almost constantly. I could have focused more on the ministry part and less on just trying to survive part. I wouldn't have faced accusations of just wanting to live off of people. I wouldn't have been told to my face, how worthless and lazy I was and not wanting to work. But my teaching, my counseling, and the services and sacraments I have performed have never, and I repeat, never, been about trying to make money from being a minister of any kind. I have been pushed and compelled towards ministry since I was 15 or 16 years old. Every time I have tried to just give it up, and there have been many times, I have been pushed and compelled by the Spirit to pick it up again. I have lost jobs, stability, apartments, friends, and any reputation I might have had, because this compulsion by the Spirit would not leave me alone. Here I am, still doing it. No paycheck in sight. Were I to stop altogether again, I guarantee you something would happen to push me to seek it again. Here's the thing. My congregation is the person I meet online, the person I run into by chance, the person who meets me on the steps at random in tears, the person who stops me at night while I'm visiting a friend and begs for confession and absolution, the person whom I don't know and will probably never meet again, who just needs Jesus Christ in that moment. And if it's just one person who meets Jesus in what I write or the videos I make, if it's just for one person that I do hours of research on a topic for, then that is worth it. That person needed Jesus Christ in that moment, and they were able to meet him through me. This is why I do what I do. This is why I write, do the videos, and take time for the person who asks, no matter who they are. And if I never see a dime for it, so be it. That's not what this is about. Reputation isn't what this is about. I'm an unknown. I will probably remain an unknown until I die. So be it. But if I can be Jesus Christ for just one person, and if that one person can experience him through me, then I will have achieved my purpose. But that is the compulsion I am under, not for money or reputation, but to be Jesus for people. Give Jesus to people, receive Jesus from people, and see Jesus in people today, right now, in this moment.